Joining us today to discuss all of this is USC student journalist Gian Marco Velasquez. Welcome back to the Campus Report. We should say he's an alum, not yet of USC, that's coming, but he's an alum of the Campus Report. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
It's great to have you, especially talking about this big issue. And, you know, you must know a lot of international students, and also as part of this assignment, you were interviewing some of them on campus just to talk about where we are with this issue and some of the pressures that they may be feeling. What'd you find?
Yeah, so, you know, international students have been on the minds of many amid conversations of immigration policy and changes that are happening currently and have been happening for the past few months. And really, there is this idea that international students for sure bring a wealth of experience, world values, world perspectives to USC, to US campuses, and provide this outlook that's diverse from domestic students. And I talked to many students. I talked to the president of the International Student Assembly, who mentioned that international students provide so much wealth, so many resources, so many perspectives, as well as this idea that there is no one correct way of viewing the U.S., and there's an introspective perspective to students who go to USC from the U.S., but also external pressures and external perspectives that shape the way that the conversations of politics should be had in this country.
Well, you know, part of this assignment is for you to go out there and not just talk to these folks, but also film some of your interactions. So we have some of that to play, and then we'll talk about it on the other side with Gian Marco.
I think what makes our community so special is that, 10, 20 years down the line, we have students that are lawyers, we have students that are scientists, we have students that are doctors. International students, we come from all walks of life, all corners of the world, everywhere you can possibly imagine.
I think classroom interaction is like the easiest way to get to know another student. So whether that's you're talking to an international student in class about anything. We're here for the same reasons you are. Don't be afraid to reach out to us.
I feel like it's really important to get to know people from all around the world. See the cultural difference. It's something that really gives you a new perspective about how stuff works around the world. Education system, public healthcare, it's really different around the world, and most of the people I've been talking to here, they don't know how it works. I think it's really important to get those new perspectives, point of views on those kind of stuff, and it really enriches the culture.
And Gian Marco, so much of the university experience is intended to be a diversity of viewpoints to have these conversations, and the conversation on speech on campus is its own issue. But there also must be concerns for these immigrant and international students given the political discourse.
Of course, historically, the concerns that I spoke to students has been, for example, international students don't qualify for federal work study, which is a big support for many students who want to pay off the school, as well as financial aid is usually a pretty tricky subject for international students. A lot of them have to pay out of pocket and pay these really large international fees sometimes. The complete price of schools. And I think most recently, H-1B changes to immigration policy has really caused a lot of uproar, a lot of concern about traveling and really rethinking their postgraduate plans, their employment plans as international students.
Well, we should talk about that, and I'm sure our viewers at home are aware of some of this, but the Trump administration is basically making a change to this 35-year-old policy for these visas. They're for highly specialized workers, and it has been many immigrants who have qualified for this. It used to be something like a $200 fee. Now it's going to be $100,000 with an eye towards giving preference to the extent possible, the Trump administration says, to American workers. And so for those students who are coming, who are immigrants, who are internationals, who are looking at that as a pathway now potentially threatened, what's the sense?
Yeah, so I spoke to several international students, some from Latin America, some from Asia, and they mentioned that there's a concern. They feel hopeless. They feel like they don't have the power to make these decisions, and these decisions are directly impacting them. A lot of them aren't even necessarily seniors or graduating classes. They're, freshmen, sophomores who are thinking about their postgraduate plans because they have to. I also spoke to some students who talk about travel plans being altered. For example, one student I spoke to from China said that there was uproar in the Chinese community about not leaving the country and not jeopardizing their entry and potentially jeopardizing their employment and their status when they get the H-1B visa.
So we have some of those comments, too, that we can listen to, especially when it comes to this visa. Let's take a listen to that.
It's a scary times we're living out here, especially for us international students. It's already hard to get a job, period. And it's already hard to get a job that it's going to sponsor your visa. So now these other requirements is just going to make it even harder.
Among my friend group, I am probably the only one who's I want to stay in the US after I graduate. I don't want to go back to China so quick. I want to maybe look for an opportunity here in LA. I might have to reconsider my arrangements after graduation. I may have to start making connections in my home country in order to find a job there.
Yeah, these student perspectives, they raise this concern, right? This question that international affairs, international news, as well as domestic news directly impacts people across the world, but especially on college campuses, which are microcosms, melting pots of the world.
And so many people are in a phase where they're trying to plot out their next moves, and so much of this is dynamic, volatile, and fluid. So you heard a lot of might, I might have to do this, which is a big part of the story as well. And we appreciate you bringing those perspectives and being a part of the churn and bringing it to us here. Great reporting, Gian Marco. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Really, really happy to. Look out for this one. Gian Marco Velasquez from USC, one of the student journalists who's part of our Campus Report program. We love it.